everyone, I'm Jessica Stutzman and welcome back to the Mill Creek Government Channel. The Association for Needy and Neglected Animals has been serving the Erie community for 17 years, giving stray, abused, and neglected pets a second chance at life and introducing them to their forever homes. You may know this beloved organization better by their acronym, the Anna Shelter. Joining us on this show today from the Anna Shelter is the assistant to the director, Matt Thompson. Matt, thank you so much for joining us here today.
Thank you for having me.
Well, we have had the Anna Shelter on the show quite a number of times in the past, and we love having you guys on every year because we do love this organization so much. And we hear that the Anna family is expanding to include Lend a Paw Spa. Can you tell our viewers what this is?
Sure. Actually, Lend a Paw Spa existed previously in the past in our 17-year history. Actually, quite early on was a feature of the shelter, the original setup. At the shelter building that we all still know, which is on East 10th Street. And now, though, Lend a Paw Spa is in West Mill Creek. And there are perhaps future plans to, depending on how this one goes, maybe have other locations. But for now, we have it out at what we call our Anna Mall West. We're kind of doing a little play on words there. And so we'll probably develop an Anna Mall East as well at some point in the future. But for now, what it's doing is just kind of getting back into offering more services to the community. Also, services they'll provide to dogs and cats that are going up for adoption. Where previously, maybe for the last couple of years, we haven't. We have a facility in-house at the shelter to do some grooming before adoption. We don't always get the chance, and some people are like, "Oh, I'll get that done. Don't worry about it." But we, where and when we can, because some of the dogs come into us in rough condition, and we don't just mean injury, but sometimes they're just neglected or they've been out in the the woods or somewhere and they need some cleaning up. Well, now we have a way to do that in-house, but it's also a service offered to the public. And more information can be found on both our website, theannashelter.com, as well as our Facebook page, The Anna Shelter.
Wonderful. And so you're going to be partnering with the Lake Erie Canine Services. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah, that's already in effect. And Lake Erie Canine, so they're really good folks, and they've been a business for a number of years now out of Lawrence Park. And essentially, so they were looking for an opportunity to expand their offerings in other locations. And we had sent a lot of, some of our animals that needed some behavioral assessment and things like that. Because what Lake Erie Canine does is they do all kinds of classes for, behavioral training, as well as assessments. And then they also have offered dog daycare as well as long-term boarding. So now through our partnership with them, we are going to offer, or excuse me, I should say it is ongoing now that we have been offering just for a short time. It started in May, that we're offering dog daycare as well as long-term boarding for dogs and cats. And the interesting thing is not that many people do boarding for cats. So, if anybody does in the region. So we're starting to offer that so as yet another service to the public.
Wonderful. And you can check all this out on your website. And you guys, like I always mention, you guys have a great Facebook page and a great following there. So
yes.
The pandemic has definitely been challenging for a lot of nonprofits. How did the Anna Shelter do? Did you guys survive? Was there a lot of animals being relinquished during the pandemic, or a lot of adoptions? What did you guys see?
Well, actually, a bit of both, but in that sense, there was an initial phenomena that actually I think was happening nationwide, if not worldwide, because I remember seeing some, articles from national sources saying about how animal adoptions are up. This is especially last year, 2020, but continuing into this year. And so we experienced that just the same. It's kind of funny, right? Because being in Erie and somewhat off of the national grid, what have you, or not everything that happens nationally necessarily affects us, but of course the pandemic has affected everybody, no matter where you live, right? So we did experience, though, the jump in, the uptick in adoptions, and which is just crazy, which actually led us to, crazy good, but led us to be able to help. Now we're no kill, but to help shelters in other areas that are like high kill, or they have a lot of less room or whatever. So we have gotten into a situation of sometimes taking animals that otherwise would be euthanized elsewhere and bringing them because it was supply and demand. We had the demand and they had the supply, but not as many adopters, let's say, in certain areas. So that's another phenomenon of the pandemic. But then the flip side of that is, in many ways, and you can probably find articles about this too, that since a lot of people were obviously having to stay home, quarantine, and if not work from home, it wound up that there were also a lot of people, maybe that otherwise would have had to have surrendered an animal, like keep the animal. Mm-hmm. Like for some reason, we have been. We kind of had low numbers of small, like lap dogs, mm-hmm. Even less so than we normally do. Normally at a shelter you get medium to larger sized dogs, and usually 40, 45 pounds and up, So for whatever reason, maybe it was just the comfort of having something on your lap. Not that a big dog can't and doesn't want to sometimes be on your lap, and depending on who you are, you might like that. But yeah, we found out, so on the flip side, that we weren't getting in as many small dogs, but definitely the numbers were there, and I think because of the pandemic, because of more people being home, more people wanting that companionship that an animal provides. So.
Mm-hmm. And I know, and I did rescue my dog from the Anna shelter, and she is a big lap dog. So she is a big dog and she is a lap dog. So
right.
I love
shepherd,
that.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. A German Shepherd Husky, and she is the best, and she is a family member. So we've always talked about how these are commitments for not the short term, commitments for the long term, and
right.
Anywhere from it depends if you adopt an older dog, a year to 15
sure.
15 years.
Give them a nice rest home, retirement home, so to speak.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I just love, again, the Anna Shelter and your mission. And so what did you have to do to fundraise during the pandemic? What did you have to do differently?
Right. Well, we basically really we're like, oh no, what are we going to do? Because we had we're always very active in the community, and we're always invited, especially every spring and summer and early part of fall, so when the weather's better around here, to all kinds of events, be they community fairs or even a church picnic or various things we'd go to, as well as hosting our own fundraisers, right? But of course, all that totally got scuttled. So what are we going to do in place of that? So one of the things we came up with was just using our very busy and well-trafficked online presence, especially our Facebook has a lot of traffic every day and a lot of activity. So we thought, well, let's look into, not necessarily because we don't have the money to buy ads, but just using the posting ability to put it out there, okay, we're in need of this, we're in need of that, and we decided to make it like a monthly theme, kind of, depending on the month. So, maybe, April would have been, trash bags, or, May would have been blankets or something like that, you know what I mean? And it was wildly successful, which was great, because all the time, every day, and there are a couple times of the week during the day when I do answer phones at the shelter, and I can tell you just every time we do get calls and people, have that generous spirit and want to know, what can I get you? What do you guys need? That kind of thing. And we put it on our website as well. items most used and things like that. Beyond what you might think, like dog food, cat food, litter, that kind of thing, but cleaning items and such. And so we're just putting those two things together, and just getting a notice online did wonders for, helping us to not have to put a lot of money into those things. Because of course, as mentioned, without the fundraisers, the money was kind of drying up, and just not, whereas not to say, and I need to put a thank you out there to, all the people that do continually donate to us, or we get a lot of times where people will leave in their will that they want such and such to go to our shelter, which is always very humbling, So that continued for sure. Although of course everybody, felt a financial crunch, with the shelter, and so, like I said, while those things continued, the numbers, weren't the same in terms of our available funds. And so, we just get the word out on social media, and, you can say what you will about social media, there's good and bad and everything, but that was definitely one of the good sides of it, is that just the outpouring of support.
Absolutely, and I know the Erie community is incredibly generous, and like I said, you guys have an amazing following, so I'm so glad they were able to donate. Everyone was able to donate, and I know whenever we get extra spare towels, I'm like, I bet the Anna shelter could use these, so we just run down spare towels, or I'm sure a bottle of bleach, or
and you would even get
like
people like from whether they're just maybe down the road in Pittsburgh, or maybe they now live on the West Coast and they're from Erie and they still follow us, and so we get boxes sent to us of all kinds of stuff, that people, I saw your need, and whether they go to like an online, pet seller that'll ship it to us, or they just ship us a box of towels or something,
Yes.
So that's amazing, the reach that you can get out there. So.
And you're right, everything is so convenient now. You can probably just, get something from Amazon and have it, shipped to you. So.
And people do that all the time.
Good. I am glad to hear that. And kitten season is here, so
in a big way.
Yes.
It always
And what should folks do if they do find like a litter of kittens on their property, or what? How do we handle that?
Yeah, it's such a. It puts you between a rock and a hard place, because obviously, or maybe I should say a heart place, because, H-E-A-R-T, because we understand, and people want to be compassionate and want to take care of these, little helpless looking things. And in some cases they are, but in some cases they aren't, in the sense that, sometimes, you don't want to disturb a litter that may be well protected. Maybe you're just doing some, cleaning out the garage or something. You found this, but, you don't want to disturb a litter as long as they look safe and that they're all together. And maybe the mother's not there, but, the mother might be out like hunting or what have you, or just, in a kind of, wanting to be, being afraid of humans or whatnot, just not be seen and leave the kittens there. But the idea is, like in a lot of wildlife, and I hate to say this, but, cats are considered, legally free roaming animals, just the same as birds and rabbits and whatnot would be. Even though they are domestic pets, and of course birds and rabbits can be, but more so, cats are considered that. But the cats that you tend to find, in your garage, somewhere in your yard, what have you, a lot of times under porches, obviously they've found relatively safe places to have litters, and they're going to have litters. But yeah, generally, like for instance, we can't really take anything into the shelter that's like less than 8 weeks old. On rare occasion, when it does look like a very young litter has been abandoned, we will seek out a foster home, because that's what it's going to take. First of all, they can't come to the shelter because it'd be too exposed to potential disease, things like that, and because they're way too young to have any kind of vaccinations. So, you look at that, and then the fact that they're probably going to need to be bottle fed. And so that's something that somebody should consider, even if you're considering just doing it, and God bless you if you are, like at home, or on your property. But it is something that's going to, almost be around the clock care if you really want them to survive, or the majority of them at least, and then turn into, healthy cats that maybe at some point, like I said, when they get to 8 to 10 weeks is usually when we can take them in. But like I said, especially if you don't plan on bringing them into your house to take care of, leave that stray, litter alone, because as long as it seems to be in a safe, comfortable place, know that the mother's probably going to come back and take care of them.
So Matt, you mentioned, again, fostering, being a foster parent to some of these, kittens and also to puppies. And I have a special place in my heart because my dog, Kona, was fostered because of her special needs. And I'm actually still friends with on Facebook, and I still connect with Kona's foster mommy all the time. And she will find older photos of Kona, and she will share them with me, which I absolutely love. Seeing 7 years ago to today, how far we've come. So again, speaking of foster homes, tell me about the Anna Shelter's need for these special people.
Yes, and that is something that I think also the pandemic affected, is that there was a time pre-pandemic, if I can remember that far back, it seems like a long time, right? But essentially where we were, not so much turning down foster applicants, we never do that, but telling them, it might be a while before we call you because we have enough fosters. But it's always that catch-22, because just when you think, you're good, then something happens, whether like the pandemic or something else, or just a whole bunch of kittens being turned in and whatnot, and now you need more foster homes, and of course we realize too that we're not the only place in town. That there are a number of other rescues, especially those that are just dedicated to cats. And so, and it's not just the kitten thing, it can be a litter of puppies too, I should clarify as well. But in essence, though, those are the two main reasons we need fosters. If we get, and they may not have even been born yet, maybe we'll get a pregnant mom, whether a dog or a cat, and we need them to, somebody to give them a safe place and to help with, I believe the term is whelping, to help with the birth of the animals. And so not only are we just looking for foster homes, but then you're also kind of looking ideally for folks that have some level of experience with that. And it can be just on their own, like maybe they've just bred dogs and they know about, you know what I mean? Maybe they weren't officially a foster before, but they know about the whole thing and helping with the birthing process, or with helping with bringing the, nurturing the young along, that kind of thing. So the need is out there. And if folks are interested, it's an ongoing need. So if folks are interested in becoming a foster home for us, the best thing to do would be to email our director, who is Ruth Thompson. And it's as simple as I mentioned earlier, our website being theannashelter.com. Our email addresses, we keep them simple, so it's generally our first names at theannashelter.com. So hers, it would just be Ruth at theannashelter.com is where you want to send for more information. It's like a brief interview process, and sometimes you might be put on a waiting list, but like really in the last couple of months since spring hit, we've been in need of more than ever. So sometimes, and now is one of those times where we don't have enough fosters. So definitely if you're interested, and I mentioned experience, even if you're not that experienced, but you're experienced as a pet owner, we could probably work with you and give you some basics on, what to do and how to take care of them. But you would need to be someone who has a lot of home time. That's a big thing. So keep that in mind. Your heart might be in it, but your schedule might not fit.
Right. Because again, these pets that do need foster homes usually have a lot of needs that go with
absolutely.
it. They need a lot of care, extra care. So
yeah, you're talking like consider having an infant child, new addition to the family. Well, now all of a sudden you've got 7 infants, maybe in a litter, right? 7 to 9 if it's cats or stuff like that. Yeah.
Yes,
so.
And I'm very grateful. Again, Kona's foster mom was Linda, so we keep in touch with Linda and share updates with her, and I know she likes to see that and
that
to
is
see
awesome.
Kona's progress. So yeah, we're very, very grateful. And so the Anna Shelter, with needing foster homes, the Anna Shelter is also hiring. Yes,
yeah. So. That is another thing that has to do with our expansion, because of course we mentioned the addition of the dog grooming, or excuse me, I should say pet grooming, not just dog grooming, but also in regard to any of the other services, whether existing or new. So whether we're talking about the dog daycare, boarding facilities, not so much the training aspect, because that's for the professionals, we already have those, but in essence also at our wellness centers, which we haven't mentioned yet, but I'm sure folks know that we do have more than ever. It started out as just one, but we have 3 now animal wellness centers, which are low-cost veterinary clinics with some minor surgery, things like spaying and neutering that can be done, or removal of cysts or things like that. That can be done as well. So mostly as a vaccination clinic, but we need things as simple as like receptionists. We need things like, and some that are a little more skilled, which is not to take anything away from receptionists. I mean, I've done those types of jobs and kind of continue to do that at the shelter, so I know that can be a skilled thing as well. But, even more skilled like vet tech, those kind of positions. Once again, I have to defer to, send an email to ruth@theannashelter.com if you're interested in employment. And she would request that you send a resume if you have it. But we realize that some positions, it might just be your first job and you're wanting to, because we do hire you, like, if you're in your later teens, that type of thing. And in essence, so you may not have a resume, it's okay, still send about your interests, because now that I think about it, I didn't mention we need kennel cleaners as well. That can be kind of like a thankless job in some ways, because of, animals, a lot of mess, that kind of thing. But essentially, just about any position you can think of short of, management or veterinarian, So,
Yes.
yeah.
We only have a couple minutes left, and I could talk about the Anna Shelter all day.
Right.
I
Yeah.
do want to mention that we are hoping to reinstate some of the favorite events that the community has held, Yappy Hours and some of your
Yes.
other summer and fall events. Where can viewers find more information about those?
Absolutely, yes. So that's a nice thing now that we're sort of on the side of vaccine distribution and also easing of various restrictions. That we're able to start. I mentioned earlier how we weren't able to have, and it was cutting into our fundraising. Well, now starting this summer, we are instituting those things again. You mentioned Yappy Hours or Dogtoberfest. How many of these names can I throw in? Barking Lot Party.
Yes.
Right. There's always a little pun involved. But essentially, though, our Facebook page, you'll see under the events banner, as well as the annashelter.com again. And remember on that website, THE is very important.
Yes.
Take my word for it. Annashelter.com is something very different.
Okay.
So the Anna Shelter, THEANNA, theannashelter.com is where you go.
Yes, and before we close our show, I just also want to mention that you have an animal cruelty division now.
Yes.
If you want to touch on that quickly, I
Right,
know that
yeah,
there was
yeah,
a
and,
story of Rocky's rescue.
Yeah. So our humane, police officer, Officer Eric Duckett, he is available, pretty much 24/7. He's on call for all kinds of things, and we've done a lot of things recently. Like farm animal rescues and things like that. Some people might remember recently where he did a whole bunch of, chickens and goats and whatnot. And but as far as Rocky's story, things like that happen unfortunately all too often. Where this was a dog, just in brief, that was found pretty much near death, sitting under somebody's tree in a property, had just wandered in there, people, I think this was out in Waterford, that he was found. And we did have to rush him to a veterinary hospital that we partner with in Pittsburgh. And essentially the great news is, though, and they do wonderful work there, you can find the story on our Facebook page about Rocky. Essentially, he has recovered. He had to lose his ears, but he is recovered to the point where he got into a foster to adopt situation, and in a very heartwarming way with one of the nurses who had taken care of him, who just absolutely, everybody fell in love with him. And by the way, he is a bully breed dog that had just apparently got attacked by something. We don't know what. We don't think it was human. It looked like it was probably some type of a wild animal or something. But all kind of things that we do investigate, though, whether it is cruelty or neglect via the hands of humans, or something happened to a dog, out in the wild, or, it could be even malnourishment, whatnot, starvation. So we're always on the case. And God bless him, Officer Duckett is never at a lack for things to investigate.
Yes.
So.
Well, Matt, I want to thank you so much for
Yeah.
coming on the show with us today and just sharing all of your knowledge and sharing all of this with our viewers today.
Thank you,
because this is such a wonderful organization for our community.
Thank you, and we want to thank the community as always. And we are always, humbled and blessed just by the outpouring of support. So thank you.
Viewers, I want to thank you for tuning in to today's show. We covered so many topics, from the Anna's expansion all the way to foster parenting, and then to the animal cruelty division. So I think there are so many exciting things coming up for this 2021 year. We will always make sure that we have the Anna Shelter back on the show. But in the meantime, feel free to check out their website or their social media pages to learn more information. And again, maybe you want to foster or adopt one of the pets that they have there at the shelter. So again, thank you for tuning into the Mill Creek Government Channel. And until next time, have a great day.